Well, hi everyone. Thank you for joining. Welcome to our Bethesda Lunch virtual. Bethesda Lunch, it's a network of small firms and solo practitioners focused here in DMV area. But for virtual events, of course, you can join from anywhere. My name is Ina Brady. I am a litigation attorney. I litigate commercial disputes in DC, Maryland, and also California. And I have a pleasure of leading this group. And we have today an amazing guest speaker. So let me introduce to you Lana Manganiello. Lana has over 15 years of experience in coaching and training lawyers and professionals in business development. So she focuses on driving growth and engagement with law firms. She has collaborated with numerous Am Law 200 firms. This includes crafting tailored business development and marketing strategies. And she fosters cross-practice collaboration and enhancing client engagement. She has also been a pioneer in integrating generative AI into this processes, training legal marketers and business development professionals to leverage AI tools, something that we probably need. She has been recognized with multiple awards for her contributions, including Global 100 Leaders in Legal Strategy and Consulting and DEI Community Impact Award. Additionally, she is the author of the ABA's Career in Business Law, so offering insights into building successful legal careers. Lana lives in San Diego and has two adorable girls, 7 and 11 years old. And what she likes doing for fun is home exchange. So she goes to different countries, exchanges homes with other people, and that makes her vacation unforgettable. So thank you so much, Lana, for joining us. I'm excited to have you speak here, and I'm excited to learn. So we will have, after Lana's presentation, we will have time for brief Q&A. I do have a hard stop at 1 o'clock. I'm sorry, because I have a meeting. I apologize, but I'm excited to hear from Lana. The floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Ina, and nice to be here. I really am excited to learn more about all of you all and share with you some ideas around positioning yourself as the go-to lawyer in your niche. Before we dive in, I would love to start with introductions, Ina, if you don't mind. So I'd love to hear your name, your practice area and firm, and what kind of matters you'd really love to attract more of in 2026. So I'll go first. I'm Lana Manganiello with Practice Growth Partner, and I work with lawyers and law firms to build practices that are both profitable and fulfilling, and I'm helping them to connect clarity and strategy to growth. And in 2026, I'm focused on high impact consulting engagements with boutique and growth oriented firms. So, Ina, I'll popcorn to you if you want to let us know what you're most interested in attracting in 2026.
Sure, thank you. Again, I'm a litigation attorney, and in 2026, I hope to attract more supply chain disputes matters and international matters if possible.
Great. Do you want to popcorn to the next person?
Oh, yeah, Ken. Ken,
Ken
Ken, are you there?
Samuelson.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get to Elliot then. Elliot?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I'm
Here
Elliot
we go.
Alderman. We're a full service intellectual property firm. We have two lawyers and we do patent, trademark, and copyright. I do predominantly advisory and transactional, and my partner does more patent and litigation. And I think our focus for 2026 is more outside legal counsel work for larger clients, and for me, more high dollar creatives, so that we're more of a profit center, not a cost center.
Can you popcorn to someone else?
Yeah, Andrea.
Hi, thank you. I'm Andrea Alatar. I have a solo law practice. I'm getting ready to hit my 6-year anniversary. I advise clients on compliance with sanctions, AML, and export control laws. And I've recently been helping a lot of both US and non-US nonprofit organizations who are concerned about the expansion of sanctions laws and the new domestic terrorism executive order on navigating what that means for their compliance policies, and how they can mitigate their risk. Um, and I'm hoping to attract more matters like that, as well as other complex sanctions matters.
Great. I'll popcorn to Matthew.
Hi, everyone. I am still in the process of launching my law firm. It's going to be a corporate whistleblower practice. I practiced in that space for about 13 or 14 years. So it was for 2026, just hoping to get up and running, attract whistleblower clients working in corporate America. I also am a criminal defense attorney, and in that I am on the Criminal Justice Act panel. That's not something I'm going to advertise because it's kind of guaranteed clients and revenue streams. It's for courtroom exposure, more courtroom exposure. I was a litigator before, but had few trials. So still in the getting off the ground stage, and excited to hear today's talk.
Great. Diana, will you share next?
There. Thank you, Lana. Diana Sobo Law. I'm a trademark attorney. Most of my practice is transactional. I handle some inter partes matters before the trademark board. I do that judiciously because as a solo, taking on any litigation can be daunting, and I want to have a quality of life as well. But I do want to expand my practice. Of course, I'm open to taking on new clients, but I'm really looking in 2026 to expand services for my existing clients, some of whom I've worked with for over 20 years from former firms, and they've come with me. Sobo Law has now celebrated 16 years. So I really love the relationships that I forged with my clients over the years and decades, but I really want to look into more aggressive monitoring, protecting, especially online. Of course, there's a lot, and an AI creates a whole new difficulty as far as, rip-offs, counterfeits, and then all the fake. So really kind of being more proactive, and I'm looking at ways, and I'm actually have some meetings today to kind of expand services and really be more full service to my existing clients.
Great. Thanks, Diana. Jennifer, will you share next?
Will do. Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Magid, law firm Anderson and Quinn. I am a business litigation attorney. I work with business owners in business-to-business disputes or transactions. I work with business owners when having negotiations or disputes with their business partners. For 2026, an emphasis of mine is to expand on and emphasize the litigation part of my practice, complex or otherwise. And that can be, it's known as business divorce, or it can be business to business, having something that has gone wrong. So that's my emphasis for 2026.
Thanks,
Thank
Jennifer. Robert, will you share next?
Sure. My name is Bob Lannon. I am the principal of Lannon Legal PLLC based in Washington, D.C. We are a boutique with 3 lawyers, and we do general corporate transactions and general commercial litigation. We serve clients in a bunch of industries, but quite a few of them are in the hotel and lodging industry. That's our specialty. And I've been doing this for 15 years in January.
Anything specific for 2026 as far as the types of matters or how you'd like to elevate your practice?
I'd just like to build our practice. We've I took on a new lawyer this year, and I'd like to do more of the same things we've done in the past, just more of it. It's negotiating a variety of contracts, a lot of it for hotel companies, hotel management contracts and franchise agreements, joint venture agreements, loan documents, stuff like that related to hotel developments. I heard mention of a business divorce. I'm in the middle of finishing one of those right now. so in mediation.
Fun.
And those between a couple companies. So dispute resolutions as well. I just want more of the same.
Great. Thanks, Robert. Andrea or Andrea, will you share next?
Oh,
Or she shared. Sorry about that. And then Robert Landon, number 2.
That was me.
A Navy. I don't know why so Navy Doga, also land and legal. I'm not sure my name is showing as Bob's name, but my goals are pretty much I work with Bob, and I'm the new attorney that he brought on, and I would say that my goals are pretty identical to his. Uh, Especially when it comes to getting more work from clients that I've already serviced at prior firms in the past.
And what is your name?
A Navy Adoga.
Navy.
Can I
Nice.
share for everyone? A Navy just got married on Saturday.
Congratulations.
What are you doing
Thank you.
here?
Paying for it. Okay. Funmi, will you share next? I'm sorry if I'm not saying your name correctly.
Yeah, no problem. It's Fumi Obalabi. I own a law firm. We do data protection matters. So basically anything related to the data protection laws in the US, global. Goals for 2026. I really like working with retail clients. So really building out, doing some more marketing to get more retail clients, food and beverage and construction. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you so much. Thomas, we're sharing our what we want to attract in 2026 from a matters or client standpoint.
Well, actually, I'm in the process of closing down my law practice. I'm just signing on to say goodbye to everybody. I don't know that I'll be attending any future meetings. I'm down to about 3 small projects. If I can get my clients to respond, I'll be pulling the plug after.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Tom.
Thanks for joining, Thomas.
So, yeah.
And then I'll pop over to some of the people off camera. So Lisa, would you mind sharing? Maybe while Lisa's figuring out audio. Ken, did you get your audio to work?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Like a lot of people on this call, I'm a refugee of the big law firms. So what I try to do is combine those practices. We do commercial real estate and bankruptcy. So we're taking 2 practice areas where a large firm would staff that with a real estate partner and a bankruptcy partner and a whole bunch of associates and so forth. We try to combine all that into one, and that's our niche. In terms of development, our clients don't like to litigate. I go to bankruptcy court and foreclosure court and landlord tenant court, but the clients don't like the expense of litigation. So we sort of settle like 95% of our cases with workouts that are comparable to what would happen in a bankruptcy court. Things of that order. And where we're looking to develop a little bit more, I want to take on some more associates. We have a workload that I need some help, so that if anybody knows anybody that's interested in those areas, particularly the bankruptcy, we're looking to hire in those areas.
Great, thanks, Ken. And Yolanda, are you able to share a bit about what you're trying to attract in 2026?
Sure, definitely. Thanks so much for putting this together. So, what I'm looking to attract in 2026, I guess I should first start by saying, I am the owner of an immigration law practice. So I'm looking to develop ways to streamline what I'm doing today, obviously, to generate more clients and to figure out ways to more effectively and efficiently serve that community. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And then Lisa, I think that might be the last.
Yes, I was able to unmute. Apologies, I'm in transit and I can't figure out how to turn this camera on while on the phone. I am Lisa Moraine, and I am a recent federal senior executive retiree. And I am in the process of launching my own practice where we'll focus on estate planning as well as real estate law. And for 2026, my goal is to get the practice up off the ground, fully launched, and to expand and grow, and any other wonderful things that life has in store for me. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you for sharing. And did I miss anybody? Okay. Great. Well, I so appreciate hearing from you all. It sounds like quite a few of you have already identified areas where you really want to focus. And I'm a big proponent of the more narrow you can be in kind of selecting how you want to be known as the go-to lawyer, the easier it is to market and generate opportunities. So being known as the go-to lawyer in a niche is not just about being known, it's being known for the right things by the right people in a way that consistently attracts more of the kind of work that you're interested in. You can't be the go-to lawyer to everyone. You become the go-to lawyer by being clear and consistent and visible to the right people. And positioning is all about shaping perception. So deciding how you want to be known and then reinforcing that message in everything you do is really an important piece. So let me share my screen and we will get into it. Okay. All right. So I would love to hear, well, I want you to think a little bit about when someone is introducing you, whether it's in this group or outside of this group, thinking about your clients, thinking about, the networking groups you're in. What do they usually say about you? And is it actually what you want to be known for? So think about that. And that's really what we're addressing today. So this is excuse me, the foundation of positioning. You can only attract the work you want when your message, visibility, and relationships are all aligned around that intention. So let's move on to the first step, which is all about clarity, because before you can be the go-to lawyer in your niche, you have to be really clear about what your niche even is, niche. So most lawyers skip this step, or oftentimes we're jumping straight to how do we become more visible and how do we start attracting matters? Or they're oftentimes describing what they can do. And so I'm oftentimes encouraging my clients to talk about and describe what they want to do. Pretty much everyone I work with is very capable and can do a lot of things. And so often, when asked to describe what about their practice, they're sharing things that they've done in the past that they never want to do again. So be intentional about what you're trying to attract and only highlight those things that relate to the type of work that you're most interested in. So I want you to think, I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek and this idea of starting with why. So ask yourself, if your calendar next year were full of only the kinds of matters and clients you most enjoy, what would that look like? And thinking about, not only what kind of work would fill your days, but what that would mean for how you feel about your practice. And then the next thing is, with that kind of work in mind, thinking about the decision makers or referral sources that are connected to that work. So who are the people who actually can hire you for this work or send you these kinds of opportunities? And who has access to the clients or matters that you want most? So if you have a piece of paper, it might be helpful to be kind of jotting down some of the names and ideas that come to mind as we're talking through these things. Also, I'd love this to be interactive. So please speak up or raise your hand if you have any thoughts or questions as we're moving through this. So I think this is an important exercise that really helps you to put that kind of clarity into words. So, writing one sentence that captures the essence of your niche that is formulated in sort of a I help X type of client with Y type of matter or problem so they can Z, either that's a result or some kind of value. So that's something to think about as you're framing this idea of becoming the go-to authority in a certain area so that your clients know you as the, or your prospective clients know you as the obvious resource for the work that you're most interested in attracting. Okay, so once you've clarified what you want and can say it in a simple way, the next step is to become the obvious choice for that kind of work. So that means asking what needs to be true for me to be known as the go-to authority in my space. So, because the go-to lawyer doesn't happen by accident, it's the result of clearly articulating who you serve, what you're exceptional at, and why you're trusted. The next step is really consistently reinforcing that story. So if someone is comparing you to three other lawyers in your space, maybe you all have similar resumes, pedigree, similar results. Think about what would make you the obvious choice. So, oftentimes the answer is not credentials or years in practice, but something more personal, your approach, your client experience, your focus, your way of thinking. That's a big part of what positioning is built on. So, the next thing I'd like you to think about is association. So, what do you want people to immediately connect your name with? Um, a type of matter, a result, a client experience, a value like responsiveness, creativity, being calm under pressure. The clearer you are on this, the easier it becomes for other people to describe you the way that you want to be described. And then thinking about credibility, what proof do you already have that supports your positioning? So, hearing from this group, this is a very experienced group, and this isn't a matter of earning the credibility, it's making all the things that are true about you apparent and evident to the people who are referring you or hiring you. So this is your experience or track record. This is client testimonials. This is your representative matters, speaking engagements, media features, your writing. All of these things are forms of evidence that reinforce your story. So repetition around here and consistency around a theme that tells a story that's memorable is an important piece to consider. So it needs to be specific and credible, and that consistency or kind of redundancy is what makes it memorable and easy for other people to repeat. Um, so let's look at some practical applications of this. So I'm not sure if this group always use LinkedIn for their meetings, but I hope that means that all of the people on this call have a LinkedIn profile and a website bio. Those are two things that I feel like are table stakes, and this day and age, everyone is kind of expecting people to exist on the internet. So everything a potential client or referral sees, whether that's your LinkedIn profile or your website bio, your article speaking engagements, they all should be telling the same story about who you are and what you do and who you're trying to help. So let's talk about LinkedIn first. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts before we jump into LinkedIn? Okay. So this is Google doesn't care how you think or feel about LinkedIn. it's usually going to present your LinkedIn profile as one of the first results when someone is going to Google your name. So, I work with some attorneys who are like, yes, I have a LinkedIn profile. I don't know if I've logged in the last 3 years, because none of my clients go to LinkedIn. Unfortunately, that's not really the reality because prospects or people who are thinking about referring you are going to Google your name, and LinkedIn is going to make sure that your profile is showing up. So it's required. I mean, it's kind of best business practices to pay attention to your LinkedIn. So think about your headline. That should really focus on authority, not just title. So it's kind of a wasted opportunity if it says there you're a partner at XYZ LLP. So using that opportunity to really describe what you do in a way that's more meaningful and also searchable. So trusted counsel for complex construction disputes or defending businesses in high stakes employment litigation. Those make it really obvious what you do and for whom. So I feel like there's a missed opportunity a lot of times in your headline. I know I use my LinkedIn almost as a Rolodex. And so when one of my clients asks me, like, hey, do you know anyone who does land use? My memory is not that great, but I'll jump into my LinkedIn to see how many of my first connections have land use in their profile. And if they wrote it in there, it will show up. But there's plenty of people I'm connected to who do land use and don't actually put it anywhere on their LinkedIn, so it's not searchable. So just something to consider. Your about section should speak directly to your ideal clients. You want to be talking about your approach, what you care about, what kind of clients you do your best work for. This is not an area for your resume. And then as far as activity, I mean, I'm generally not working with people to help them become influencers on LinkedIn, but it is a great platform to reinforce your niche. So sharing insights, lessons learned, quick reflections about your practice. Um, these are all things that are going to highlight the kind of work that you want more of. Okay, so next we'll talk a little bit about your website bio. No matter how much time and energy I spend on helping law firms create their websites, the most trafficked pages on any law firm site is going to be the attorney's bio pages. So keep that in mind as you're, carefully constructing the copy for your practice area pages. People are generally not reading those. They're going to your bio page to see your experience and results as they relate to what they're interested in hiring you for. So this is the best place to illustrate your credibility. So one thing that I want to kind of emphasize again is this is not where you put everything you've ever done. This is where you put what you have done that relates to the work that you're doing now and want to do more of. So rewriting kind of that early career experience in bankruptcy when now you're doing family law in a way that highlights what relates in that old experience to what you're doing now is an important thing to go through as you're being intentional about what your website bio says about you. And then representative matters should be both on your bio and your LinkedIn, in my opinion. When we're looking also again at the data and metrics of where people are looking on your website, when they go to your bio, it's at your looking at your representative matters. Because as you all know, anyone can make a website and anyone can say they do anything. The proof is usually in those rep matters and really showing that you can do it versus saying that you can do it. So I think it's worth spending some real time crafting those representative matters in a way that is easy to understand from the client and referrals perspective and demonstrates the value that you provide to clients. I spend a lot of time reading rep matters that are so legalese. And, you know, it's a family law attorney. I'm like, I don't, unless you're only representing clients that are attorneys, I think we need to rewrite these and really illustrate and demonstrate what you did for the client, not how you did it. So making these scannable is also a helpful thing to do where, you know, being a go-to attorney can mean you're the go-to for a specific industry or a specific matter. So, you know, if you're the go-to person for a specific region and you're more of a generalist attorney in an area that, you know, there's less competition for attorneys, and you can be more general, then it's more, the focus is around the region that you're in and emphasizing the fact that you're an expert in this area. Usually that's not a method that I am promoting. I think it's, you know, the world is too small at this point with the internet that you're going to have an easier time focusing on like an industry or a type of matter. As far as crafting a strategy around that and really getting momentum in building up a reputation. But in your rep matters, you know, if you've done a lot of work with bioscience or life science or, you know, pharma, and you're trying to get more of those kinds of clients, you could have a headline with how you helped those organizations, which makes it easier to scan and read. And at the end of the day, prospects and referral partners are looking to see like, okay, can she handle what I'm here to potentially hire her for? Does anyone have any thoughts or questions on rep matters?
Pretty clear.
I'm sorry?
It's pretty clear.
Okay, great. I'm glad to hear you say that because I work with plenty of very experienced attorneys who've been in business for 30 years, and I cannot find any rep matters for anywhere. And for people like you, Thomas, or other attorneys that are interested in attracting associates and talent to their organizations, this is less about an exercise in attracting new clients. It's more demonstrating the expertise of the organization so that the next generation of leaders can point to it and, you know, use that to be the ones who are driving new opportunities. And it shows why they should be joining your organization versus you having to sell them on why you're so great and you know, the idea that it should go without saying that I'm, you know, the authority in this space. That's not possible anymore. You need to say it and it needs to be in writing. But that's a big part of what I do with a lot of the kind of more seasoned firms that I'm working with that are their goal right now is driving talent to the organization. So we need to make it really clear to these prospective associates or, you know, potential partners that there's a lot of credibility and experience in this organization. Okay. So elevating visibility and credibility. Once you've clarified, you know, what you want and how you talk about it, the next step is to make sure the right people actually know about it and believe it. And so that's where the visibility and credibility come together. Visibility creates opportunity, but credibility earns trust. And the goal isn't to do more marketing or chase every new platform. It's to be consistently visible in ways that feel authentic, aligned, and strategic. You don't need to be everywhere. You need to be where it matters most as it relates to what you're trying to attract. So I'd like you to think about this for a second, but visibility without credibility is just noise. And credibility without visibility is, at best, a best kept secret. And so most lawyers that I talk to would rather do good work quietly than self-promote loudly. But there's a middle ground, and that's what we'll talk a little bit about. So the first thing to think about is, where does your target audience actually already pay attention? So what are they reading? What events do they attend? Where do they go for insights or for referrals? So sometimes you can glean this by doing some research on their LinkedIn to see where they are writing potentially, or where they're going, like which conferences they're attending, what organizations they're part of, because it's listed on their LinkedIn. Sometimes, and usually, it makes sense to have conversations with people about this. And so, if you're trying to figure this out, it's this is a nice conversation to have with people who you admire and you'd love for them to potentially be a client, or they're already a client and they're your A+ client, and talking with them about like, hey, I'm trying to do more this year to attract these kinds of opportunities. What do you think about this conference? How do you feel about this publication? And get their ideas around, what they think is valuable. And people love to give advice. And, there's no shame in the fact that you're being more intentional about your practice, and people really like to have those conversations. And oh my God, I'm sorry, you guys. I've been sick for 4 weeks. I'm so tired of this. So thinking about what is most natural to you when it comes to visibility and credibility. Not everyone likes to write. Most of us don't love speaking. Some of us love to teach, or they really like bringing people together and hosting conversations, like Ina here. And or they really like to be active in their community or professional organizations and sit on committees and make things happen. So everyone's comfort zone is different, and that's the point. Visibility should fit you so you can actually sustain it. At the end of the day, you're the one that has to be showing up, so it has to feel good. Um, and so figuring out what that is an important step. It's not something that someone can kind of prescribe to you. And these activities should be not only building visibility and credibility, but also relationships. These are not separate efforts. So most effective visibility often comes from sharing what you're already doing. So those are your cases, your collaborations, learned insights, and lessons from the work that you're doing. And those are ways for others to see your expertise and value. So some practical visibility strategies. Okay. Um, Writing, I think, is an easy place to start, especially now that there's all these tools that can help you be a really excellent writer, as long as you have some good ideas. But your perspective is what makes things worth reading. I see a lot of crap that AI wrote that no one's going to be interested in. So again, this is about intentionality and being specific about what the message is, and writing in a way that can only come from you. But it's a powerful way to share your perspective and shape your reputation. So you can start by sharing insights from your actual experience, obviously respecting confidentiality of your clients. But thinking about, what am I noticing right now that others in my field or other clients should know? And so you can write something brief, and post it on your own website or LinkedIn. And I think something that is underutilized, when I'm working with clients that are, trying to become thought leaders and writing a lot, is repurposing that content. At the end of the day, you're the ones who have to go out and service clients and do the work. So you probably don't have a ton of time to be devoting to these efforts around, visibility and credibility. So you want to make sure that you're getting the best ROI out of whatever effort you're putting towards business development. So taking an article and then repurposing it into a client alert, or potentially doing a short video where you talk through the idea, and you can put it on YouTube, you can put it on your LinkedIn, you can put it on your website. Creating a newsletter where you put all of the things that you've created over a quarter, or you could do a 6-month newsletter, but really squeezing as much juice out of any kind of effort. So if you're asked to speak to this group on a topic, taking that effort of preparing for that conversation and turning it into an article or a post on LinkedIn is a great idea. Any thoughts on thought leadership? Okay. Speaking and teaching are also great credibility builders because they show expertise and leadership. Most organizations are looking for people to provide content. And so if you're interested in speaking, the finding platforms to speak, it shouldn't be that difficult once you're really clear on what you want to speak on and you've built that message of why you're the best person to speak on something. So standing at the podium is not everyone's thing, but there's a lot of ways to collaboratively show up in speaking opportunities. So you can host a roundtable, you can moderate a panel, or usually I'll ask somebody to co-host with me, because doing this, at least I get to see all your faces and hear from you. I get asked to do like CLEs where I'm just talking into the darkness, and I kind of hate that. So when that's the case, I always am inviting someone else to co-present with me, whether that's a client of mine or a prospect. But everyone is usually looking for opportunities for visibility, and if you can create them for the people you want to bolster relationships with, they're usually very appreciative. And so if you're drafting the first draft of an article that you want a client to chime in on, or another attorney who sends you work to add some color to, they usually say yes. I mean, I notice that when I ask a lawyer to do anything and they have to start from a blank page, it usually takes a long time to get a response. But if I can send something that can be redlined or just added to, usually somebody's going to come back with something pretty quickly, especially if you're taking on the distribution piece. All right. Any thoughts on presenting or speaking? Okay. I'd love for you to think about some actionable ideas as we go through this that you may actually want to take on in either the end of this year or early 2026 as it relates to writing or speaking, or building visibility, joining organizations. I think these types of discussions are much more valuable when you walk away with an action that you're planning on taking. All right, so the last one is relationship visibility. So this is a big part of building a practice, is not only being visible and building new relationships, but how do you stay top of mind? So Diana talked a little bit about expanding her services with her current clients. It's a challenge for everyone I work with, especially as your network gets bigger. Like, how do I stay top of mind with the people that already know me, like me, and trust me? Everyone has a short memory, unfortunately. And so expecting someone who you haven't talked to in 9 months to think of you as, opportunities in their business arise doesn't always pan out in your favor. I don't know how many times this has happened to you when you talk to a client that's like, oh my gosh, I wish I had talked to you last week. I just engaged blah, 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 or referred so and so because they were the last person I had talked to about these kinds of real estate transactions. So staying top of mind will forever be something that you need to be responsible for, and creating habits around this and building it into your calendar is definitely the way to make it less of a task and more of just kind of your standard business operating procedure. So asking people for coffee every 3 months is a way to really annoy people. So being consistently reaching out in a way that is varied and provides value is what you need to be thinking about. So sending invitations to things that you think they'll be interested in, sending articles or books that you think people are interested in, hosting maybe a small dinner where you're bringing people together that you think would really enjoy meeting one another. There's a plethora of ways to connect with people. I usually, ask my clients to come up with who are the 15 people that are the A plus connections in your network at this point, that if you could only stay in front of 15 people, who would they be? And then plan how they're going to stay in touch with them. They know the holidays are coming, so December there's going to be a gift that they get, and then in May there's a conference that everyone goes to, and you can kind of be strategic about how you're reaching out and when, and have a strategy over the course of a year where all right, they're going to see my name at least 6 times this year in all these different ways, that are going to create value, and they're going to know you as someone who's always thinking about them and trying to do things that will help them reach their goals. Okay, so again, you don't need to be marketing yourself to network. You just need to be helping people to understand what you do best. And again, conveying to them that your interest is helping them and you're reaching out to them because you want to be of service. So, again, visibility doesn't mean you're reinventing yourself. It means turning what you're already doing into something others can see and understand. And the lawyers who consistently attract aligned opportunities aren't necessarily the loudest or most extroverted. They're just the most intentional about showing up in ways that reflect who they are and what they stand for. All right. So, relationships compound. A handful of well-nurtured connections will drive most of your new work over time. So you don't need to have hundreds of contacts. You really just need the right ones, and the ones who know you and trust you and remember what you stand for. So, think about the 3 relationship categories that matter most to your business development, what you decided or what you shared as kind of what your target is for 2026. So who are the people that actually hire you for that work? So whether that is an individual, an in-house contact, something like that. But getting really clear on kind of this category of people who are the decision makers to hire you. Sometimes I'll work with attorneys that don't really define this, and there's probably multiple ways to get a new client, especially if you're talking about more institutional clients, and kind of aligning who you are and what's more authentic to you. So maybe you're working more with founders and entrepreneurs, or you're working more on kind of the in-house counsel side, and those are more your people. So being thoughtful about what are the categories that align with who you are, and then think about who can refer you for this type of work. Who hears about these issues before you do when it comes to your clients? And then think about people who amplify you. So people who speak well of you publicly, people who share your articles or include you in opportunities. that raise your profile. So sometimes this is like a CPA that also works with the same category of client that you do. And the two of you are amplifying each other and building off of each other's network. Think about people who already know your work, but they don't know your current focus. And then think about authentic ways that you can re-engage with these kinds of people this month. All right. So this part of your strategy is not about asking for business. It's again being visible to the people who already trust you and reminding them of who you help and how you help them. So little things like sending a congratulations, a quick check-in for someone you haven't connected with in a while, inviting people to coffee. These are all things that I feel like a lot of time can go by when you're not being intentional. And it's like, yeah, I had coffee with them. I guess it was before the pandemic, so maybe it's time I reached out. But again, having some kind of tracking mechanism is what is going to make this doable. So writing it down. All right, we're running out of time. Okay. So when your message, visibility, and relationships align around your desired positioning, you don't have to chase opportunities. The right ones start to find you, and that's the point of all of this. And I really appreciate you all showing up for this conversation and your openness. And I do this because I think that it's being intentional is how you build a fulfilling practice that you really enjoy, where most of your time is spent with people that you like to work with and on matters that you find interesting and fulfilling. So I hope today you leave with a little bit clearer sense of direction and confidence that you can absolutely be the obvious choice for the work that you most want to attract. So I appreciate you bringing me into this conversation, and happy to talk about anyone's individual thoughts and ideas of what they're interested in doing this upcoming year.
Thank you so much, Lana. That was amazing content. Thank you so much. I was making notes what I need to do for my to-do list. But yeah, I had a quick question, and we have 3 minutes for Q&A. So do you recommend any kind of platforms that help tracking the network and the building of relationship, like to stay on top of their minds?
There's so many technology platforms that exist out there. One thing that I usually am suggesting is to get the most out of what you're already using. So some of you might be using Clio or different case management or time management platforms that have what they call a CRM, a client relationship management component. And so that's where I would start, is thinking about how to get the most out of what you're already using. And I don't think there's anything wrong with Excel. So making sure that you're tracking those ideal or those kind of A+ contacts in an Excel spreadsheet. It's a lot easier than trying to figure out how to make your Outlook help you with those things. So I would say start with Excel. I mean, I could talk to you about Salesforce and HubSpot and all these things that are kind of beasts in themselves. But at least using Excel, and then definitely, leveraging Clio or those types of platforms that are trying to be helpful.
That's great. We also have I think, Jennifer, I think that was your.
Okay. What % of hours do you recommend to spend on establishing a niche standout? I guess I'm not understanding the question. What do you mean, Jennifer?
Yeah, that's me. I wasn't sure how you're taking questions, but love the presentation. Thanks so much. It's good to focus and to Ina's point, like take some notes, like these are my next steps. But my question is this: what amount of time do you recommend is appropriate for an attorney to spend on this task to make it work? Is there a minimum amount of hours, time, percent of your practice? Like what are your thoughts there, your recommendations?
I mean, it depends on your goals and also your bandwidth. And so, if you're able to start to say no to some things because your priority is taking your practice to the next level and there's people you can delegate to. But I guess the answer is twofold. So there's business development and marketing, and the more that you can kind of automate those things in like this type of format where you don't have to think about it, it just shows up on your calendar every month, and you almost don't even think about it as marketing and business development versus like writing an article or things that take a lot of intention. The more you can do of that, the better off that you'll be. But I also think it's important to track all of these things. So the time you spend here or going to conferences, going to lunches, adding all of that up so you get a real idea of what your efforts are resulting in. The niche piece is interesting in that I really look at focus as a way to kind of be the door to your practice, where it's less about restricting your practice, where I'm suggesting, okay, if you want to be the go-to expert in something super niche, it's a marketing activity. It's not really about not doing these things in your practice. And so picking a niche that ultimately results in a lot of other work is a really great idea around as far as building a strategy. So, being known as the go-to person for something that's pretty quick and easy to handle, um, and it will lead to other work is one way to build up your niche. I know we're past time.
Thank you so much. And sorry, I apologize. I do need to hop on a different call. Thank you so much, Lana. I really appreciate it. Just a reminder, we have an in-person meeting on November 20th. So please come. It's going to be in Bethesda, Maryland. Again, thank you so much, Lana. It was great content. I really appreciate you coming and speaking.
My pleasure. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Lana.
Thank you.
Great.